Well, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We are in the 1940s, but we're back to black and white.
I mean, we're going to be watching quite a few black and white films, aren't we? Because the transition to color film was pretty gradual.
Gone with the Wind looked so good, though.
I know. Well, that's part of the reason why it made so much money, because there was mostly black and white back then, and it was so epic and so effectively used color.
So true.
However, I love a good black and white film, so I'm not mad. It's just a different type of movie.
Sure. So today we watched His Girl Friday, finished it mere minutes ago, having just watched, or at least finished, Gone with the Wind last night.
Mm-hmm.
This was Hannah's recommendation to watch, or not recommendation, but request, because you hadn't seen it.
And I thought I would like it, so I wanted to put it in there.
So real quick, logline for His Girl Friday. A newspaper editor uses every trick in the book to keep his ace reporter ex-wife from remarrying. So let's dive right in.
Let's dive right in.
What did you think?
I loved it.
I loved it too. I didn't think that I would. I mean,
I thought I would like it.
I talked about this in the previous episode. I went in with no expectations. I didn't know what it was going to be about.
Right.
Started off, wasn't really into it.
That's fair.
It took a while to get going.
It really picked up momentum, like maybe like a third of the way.
Right around the time when the gunshots started going off.
Oh, for sure.
Because at the beginning, I was kind of caring about the story between Hildy and Bruce versus Walter and him trying to break them up or whatever, his jealousy. I was like, okay, this is interesting. But all the stuff going on with the killer, I was like, I'm kind of 1 year in, 1 year out. Like, I don't really get how this is super relevant. And then as soon as the gunshots started going off, it was a complete reversal. I was like, I don't care about Bruce. Get him out of the movie.
It is a pretty big story.
I want to know what's happening here. So just the lightning fast dialogue.
Amazing.
Floored me.
Yeah. As you could maybe tell, it is sort of a huge inspiration for Amy Sherman Palladino, the creator of Gilmore Girls and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Has she said that actively? Or are you just inferring?
I think she has said it actively. There's definitely a scene where Rory Gilmore references His Girl Friday, so you can see the what is it called? The blood, the
Pardon? Is there a scene with blood in Gilmore Girls? I don't remember that.
No. Just like the genetics, like the shared DNA. That's shared DNA.
Yeah. You forgot our catchphrase. That's shared DNA is our thing.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, like lifeblood. I don't know. Shared DNA, like the very witty repartee, like the back and forth, the quick cuts at moments, the goofiness, like it's all that kind of style.
Once again, subtitles coming in clutch on this.
I put it on immediately because I'm like, I know this is going to be a fast talking movie. There's no way we can follow it. Like, I didn't say that out loud, but I was like,
all but said it out
loud. We're gonna need it because I know it's gonna be like really quick transatlantic talking.
So what were your expectations going in?
I expected it to have Cary Grant. I expected it to be like in the newspaper world and to be about like a female reporter and it to be like really fast paced talking. And it was all those things. I didn't really know much beyond that, but you know, this is a conversation that we have sometimes that it's like, if things that we like, the people that have created things that we like, if they like something, then it's possible we'll like that thing. So like, I like Gilmore Girls, and you know, if the creator that made that is inspired by His Girl Friday, then I'm probably going to like His Girl Friday. And I did. It is definitely the same sort of style. I love witty exchanges. I love great dialogue. That was so fun.
It was quite well written, and it was really funny too.
It definitely held up.
Both like the dialogue and a lot of Cary Grant's like body language with him pointing, and
he's
just
very goofy.
Some of his little like yelps randomly were really funny.
I remembered what I had seen him in. I saw him in Charade, which is a 1963 comedy with Audrey Hepburn. And he is a huge goofster in that, even more than in this, if you can believe it.
Okay, because I saw him in North by Northwest.
Oh, okay,
where I thought he was good in that movie, but I didn't really like that movie.
That's fair.
Personally. So when you were like, Cary Grant, I feel like I've seen him in something. I was like, yeah, of course you've seen him in something. And then I was looking at it just now and I was like, maybe you haven't seen him in something.
No.
Because you haven't seen North by Northwest.
No, I haven't seen that. But yeah, in Charade, he's very charming and even more goofy than Walter. So I would definitely Walter. I would definitely give that a recommendation to you at some point.
Okay.
You want something fun with Cary Grant. You like Cary Grant. You like sort of witty dialogue.
Well, yeah.
Go
so
for that. Yeah.
Again, I thought he was fine in North by Northwest. And then when this movie started, I wasn't into his performance. Something about it, that first scene in the newsroom, I didn't feel like it felt genuine enough. I didn't feel like he was maybe in the character enough.
It didn't feel like they had like a ton of chemistry in the beginning.
But
however,
built.
Yeah, like you could maybe read it as like they say they haven't seen each other in like 6 months. You know, they have some animosity because they're divorced.
Yeah.
You know, and then it gradually builds as they're, you know, she brought back into that world that she loves. They get closer and closer chemistry. So I think that was really well done.
They were both great. I'm going to take a second to look up the name of the actress. Rosalind Russell. Yes. Yeah. She was excellent.
Very excellent.
She can hang with the best of them as far as delivering that snappy, witty dialogue. I mean, that was really good.
That is really difficult. I was reading the Wikipedia page a little bit, and this is before they did multi-sound mixing.
Okay.
So they had a sound mixer on set that would like turn on and off people's mics depending on when they were talking. So when it's like fast dialogue overlapping back and forth, he was like on, off, like up to 35 times per scene.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
That's crazy. And so they had each person mic'd then.
I guess.
So,
something like that, where like in order to get that style, they had to do that because they didn't have like the stereo or whatever.
That's ridiculous.
At the time, Howard Hawks was trying to make the fastest paced dialogue of all time because
you can tell. And he did a good job.
Definitely. Because it was based on a play called The Front Page. And there was an adaptation a couple of years before called The Front Page. And they had the fastest dialogue. And he's like, I want to beat that. And he like showed the movies back to back and was like, this one's faster, right? And like was really trying to flex. And I think it pulled off like really nicely. I especially love the quick cuts between reporters like giving stories. He's like, okay, he's in the desk. Oh no, he's over here. Blah, 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 blah. It was awesome because you don't usually see that from movies of that era.
For someone with ADHD, like I mentioned in the last episode, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is.
But you have to train yourself to know like what piece of dialogue is key to remember and what is just kind of like fluff to keep the scene chaotic. Because it was so chaotic. I don't think I've seen a movie that chaotic since like Uncut Gems.
Oh, true. But less stressful.
Less stressful, yeah. There was less at stake. It was more just about like, where is it going to go as opposed to, is everybody going to survive?
Well, I think
it
was
money.
We were supposed to be in the perspective of Hildy getting swept up in like a chaotic but like really suspenseful, really interesting world that it's hard to pull yourself out of. You're like, okay, this is going on. We have like the big scoop. We got to get this. We want to be like the best of the best.
I understand that feeling. Like I've had that before. Like there's certain either jobs or just activities that you do that you hate the stress of it, but you love the thrill of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like at times it can be boring or at times it can really like stress you out. But when you're in the thick of it and your heart's racing and you're running around trying to get stuff done, it really brings out a love for it.
Oh, for sure.
That happens sometimes in video production.
Yeah.
Where running around trying to get the shot can be stressful, but like when you get it, it's like, oh, so satisfying.
Yeah, I feel the same way about wedding photography. It can be mega, mega stressful while I'm doing it. I'm like, oh no, we're behind schedule. Are we going to get this shot? Like, are we going to capture this moment? Like, very stressful at times, but you just feel so like passionate. You're like, yeah, this was stressful, but like, you know, I captured this beautiful moment. I'm so proud of this. And like, it's worth the anxiety. So yeah. I can relate to Hildy's experience for sure.
Exactly. And something that I've learned even more recently, specifically with regards to video production, is that the less stressful it is sometimes, the less thrilling it is.
Well, the less you're pushing yourself to be better.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that kind of goes without saying, but I found like on slow days when I can take things a little bit more easy, it's not as fun.
And you don't feel as proud of the work that you accomplish.
Yeah, not necessarily anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that way. So I could understand the feel of that character getting swept up in it all and then being right back
for sure.
to sort of square one by the end of the movie. I did think that was interesting. It was funny. It's a comedy. It was a very funny movie.
And
I give it points for that.
I definitely am drawn to strong female protagonists, and I found it really refreshing, especially in the 1940s, to have a working woman that was like amazing at her job, and everyone like thought she was like really great and successful.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Hey, Hildy, what's up, Hildy?" when she walked in.
You don't really see that as often, like even in Mad Men. It's like the women that rose to the top of that field, like they had to like kind of like push their way through it, and like it was a really big uphill struggle and stuff, and like still it was more of like a world of men in the advertising sense, and that was like 1960s.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of like Lucille Ball energy.
Yes, she gave me strong Lucille Ball energy, like strong-headed woman, but kind of goofy.
When she was chasing down the guy on the street, and she was like, "Hey, come back!"
That was really funny. She was shouting, and I just love sort of I feel like girl power now, hashtag girl power, girl boss, sometimes can make women more masculine. Like with Toy Story 4, Bo Peep is like wearing pants.
Did they make a Toy Story 4?
No, they
didn't.
I don't
think they did.
Well, Bo Peep is wearing pants because she's like to signify that she's like more powerful and headstrong now. But it's like, wouldn't it be more cool for feminine girls to be like, oh, you can be feminine and you can still be a leader. Like you can wear a dress and you can still rock it.
Absolutely.
I think that's so awesome. And seeing Hildy like, in like a dress and high heels, just booking it down the street, jumping on top of that guy, that was like amazing. Like she didn't have to get rid of her femininity in order to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
You had that same problem with the Mario movie trailer with Princess Peach.
Who is known for wearing a dress.
Yeah, in like her mock rider outfit, whatever, like her motorcycle suit.
Oh, now we're, this is like the faux feminism thing. Like, oh, it's girl power now because I'm wearing pants. Oh, I can't kick butt in a skirt. Oh, sorry. Like, I just
ridiculous.
I find it so dumb.
Yeah. Well, I think now's a good time for a little bit of trivia, and some of it we've kind of gone over, but that's okay. Yeah. Worth bringing up again. So, this was one of the first films preceded by Stage Door, 1937, to have characters talk over the lines of other characters for a more realistic sound. Prior to this, movie characters completed their lines before the next lines were started. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it really makes it stand the test of time because when you think of 1930s, 1940s movies, you think of it being a lot more stilted and more like a theater production. Whereas this is a lot more of a modern equivalent of what you would get in a modern dialogue film. And I really appreciated that.
It adds to the realism at the very
definitely.
least.
For sure. I thought it was great.
Yeah, for sure. Another piece of trivia. So, Rosalind, Roz, my good friend Roz. Roz Russell thought while shooting that she didn't have as many good lines as Cary Grant, so she hired an advertisement writer through her brother-in-law and had him write more clever lines for the dialogue. Since Howard Hawks allowed for spontaneity and ad-libbing, he and many of the cast members and crew didn't notice it, and Grant knew she was up to something, leading him to greet her every morning saying, "What have you got today?"
I mean, that's might as funny. Well, right? If you're not good at ad-libbing, but you want like smart dialogue, you might as well.
Have you ever heard of them doing that on the Drew Carey show?
I don't think so.
Do you know about the Drew Carey show?
Yeah, I saw some episodes.
It's like a sitcom, right?
Yeah.
So,
but it's like they're mostly improvisers, though.
On that show. People on the show, because they're
from Who's Line.
From Who's Line. So one of the people on that show, I don't remember the name of the actress, forgive me, but she played Jordan in Scrubs.
Okay.
Who's Dr. Cox's wife / ex-wife.
Oh yeah.
And she was in. I think she was in Cougar Town.
Yep.
Did you watch Cougar? Yeah, you watched Cougar
I watched
Town,
all
right?
of Cougar Town.
So you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. So they would have episodes where I guess they would do sort of like an ad-lib challenge, like an improv challenge.
Oh, that makes sense.
Where they would do the episode as scripted, and then every once in a while they would hit like a bell. It would go
Mm.
ding, and then if they hit the bell, then the actor had to redo their line, but like a different improvised version
That's
of the
fun.
joke
Mm-hmm.
to make a funnier version.
Yeah, they call that sort of a candy bag in
Right.
some shows, but that's written by writers ahead of time, other ad libs.
Well, you're one step
Yeah.
ahead of me on this one. So the
Mhm.
idea was that they would hit the button, they would hit the bell, and in the moment they would have to think of a random line to replace it. Well, what
True.
this actress did was she took the writers. It might have even been the writers from Scrubs. It's hard for me to remember.
Bill Lawrence, her husband.
Right.
Yeah.
So it might have been the writers from Scrubs, but she would take the script to them beforehand and have them write new lines so that she would be prepared for any opportunity for them to ding her. So then when she would get dinged, she would deliver a line written in advance by other writers, and the crowd would go crazy.
That makes sense.
I mean, it reminds me of that.
I don't take offense to that. Like, you're funny,
It's
whether
funny.
or not
Yeah,
you
yeah.
made it on the spot. You know, some people just aren't good at that. It reminds me of an episode of Community where they're doing movie nights, like for dumb movies, and they're like all about the quips and stuff. Like if you were watching like The Room or something, how you just like yell quips at the screen.
Mhm.
And Pierce is mad that he doesn't have any like good like one-liner zingers.
He would be mad.
Yeah,
He would.
exactly. So then he hires a comedy writer's room to come up with like to watch the movie ahead of time and come up with one-liners for him to say. And it turns out badly. They're like, we can tell that he's reading from a script.
He left the show, right?
Yeah, Chevy
Good
Chase.
riddance.
Chevy Chase was, you know, kind of probably had a bad attitude, you know, coming from an old world of comedy,
Thanks, but no thanks, Chev.
for sure.
So back to the lightning fast dialogue. So it is estimated that the normal rate of verbal dialogue in most films is around 90 words a minute. In His Girl Friday, the delivery has been clocked at 240 words a minute.
That is a lot.
Well over double.
You can tell. That kind of, you know, that adds to the charm of it, for sure. And that high energiness.
Yeah, I'd love to see more films by the same team. Or, you know,
Howard
by
Hawks,
the same director. Yeah.
I think Howard Hawks did a movie with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant a couple years before called Bringing Up Baby. That's on the AFI list.
Okay.
I mean, obviously we would miss it in this watch of our, you know, cinema history lesson. But I think we should maybe watch it at some point, Bringing Up Baby.
So what year is that? Like 1930s?
I think it would have been just prior. I can't remember. I was looking at it at the Wikipedia.
1938.
Yeah.
So we just missed it.
Yeah, that's
well,
okay.
We can't add in Bringing Up Baby. We can add in Bring It On, starring Kirsten Dunst, 2001.
Obviously.
Or Bringing Down the House with Steve Martin and Queen Latifah.
Sure. Get all the Medea franchise in here.
Oh, I'm about to walk away from my desk. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we're kind of still early in the episode here, but I'm looking at the camera battery and I didn't bother to charge it, so we might have to do a shorter episode. But what did you think overall? What are you going to rate it?
I think it is worthwhile to watch still. I think it holds up. It reminds me maybe of the hijinks of I Love Lucy in that kind of world. And I think I would maybe be more endeared to it over time. I don't think it's like favorite of all time, but I think it is a great movie.
One of those movies that you watch in the moment and you're like, yeah, that was good. And then you see like a 30-second clip on YouTube and you're like, oh yeah, the memories that I had. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Maybe looking back, I'll be like, that deserves a bigger spot. But as of now, I think I'm going to give it like a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, so 8 out of 10.
Yeah. So like it's like an A, but it's not like an A+, you know? I don't know.
Fair enough. I think I'd give it the same.
Yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, especially going in cold. Love going in cold to a movie.
It's so fun, like, because it's so nice to be pleasantly surprised. Like, I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah. Some of my favorite movies that I've seen, I've gone into either completely cold or at least mostly cold. I
really enjoyed going into Francis Ha completely cold. You're like, I'm just going to show you a movie and you're not even allowed to see what the title is. And we're just going to watch it. I'm like, okay.
Did I not tell you the title?
Nope. You made me look away from the screen.
Did I? Well, that does sound like me.
And I think like you don't see the title to the film until like the last frame of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that way.
Yeah.
I was curious how they came to that decision to name it that based on the very end of that movie. If you've seen Frances Ha, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you probably have no idea
should
why
watch
it's called that.
Frances Ha. Yeah, if you haven't seen
maybe
it.
I should add a Noah Baumbach movie to the list.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
I mean, I've wanted to see The Squid and the Whale for a number of years, but you've seen it, so then it doesn't
down.
have a place on this list.
I'm interested in seeing Kicking and Screaming, which is one of his earlier movies, not the Will Ferrell movie.
I'm definitely thinking of the Will Ferrell
yeah,
movie.
also called Kicking and Screaming.
What a ripoff. Don't just steal a title like that. Come on.
I don't know.
Just at least call it Screaming and Kicking.
Yeah, that's still confusing though.
Well, maybe we'll add Kicking and Screaming to the list. Our list isn't very representative of 90s and 2000s movies. Well, because that's when we were born, so we've seen the majority of great
good
movies
amount of it.
from that era.
I'm not opposed to adding some ones that we haven't seen to the list, some more, indie film affairs like
sure. I'm just
Run Lola Run. I've heard is like a good 90s indie
not quite.
film.
The genesis for the idea of this list was just movies that made like a big cultural impact, or movies that like everybody was talking about at the time. Yeah, that we didn't end up seeing. So we probably would have added Avatar to the list because you haven't seen it, but I have.
Meh.
What is your beef with Avatar?
I just don't think I'm gonna care
about it.
Yeah, I know about it.
Tell me.
It's about like this world of blue people that are probably representative of like indigenous people in North America, and these people like in our world want to take some kind of resource from them, so then they bring in this vet that is in a wheelchair to go through the computer AI and become one of the avatar people. Like he has the avatar of the whatever the tribe is called, and he becomes amongst those people, and then he falls for that love, and he's like, okay, we can't take away their resources, and I'm gonna become part of this tribe, and I'm not gonna go back to the real world because I can walk here. And that's the movie.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I just I'm sure it's great, and I'm sure it's revolutionary for its time.
It looks
in
good.
terms of animation.
I don't know,
but I just think it's I don't know. I don't think it's for me. I just probably find it like kind of mediocre, probably.
Okay. How about instead of watching Avatar, we just watch Avatar: The Legend of Korra?
Okay.
Which I've seen season 1, but not the rest. I've always been meaning to go back to it
at some point.
Right.
For sure.
Well,
did you rate this movie?
8 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Next on the list is probably the biggest one
that we've missed out on.
In terms of just film history.
For sure.
And that's going to be Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Now,
people always call things the Citizen Kane to represent the best of something, or like, the worst of, like The Room is the Citizen Kane of bad movies. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Well, kind of the whole point of this movie, or at least part of the idea of doing the list, was to have a lead up to this movie. I think I've talked about this in previous episodes, that
we want to see what came before it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think part of what made Citizen Kane so great at the time is how it revolutionized filmmaking techniques and storytelling and cinema. Supposedly. This is what I've heard. So I wanted to see like the 10 best rated films before Citizen Kane to understand exactly like what it did.
Yeah.
Right? And I actually did something similar. We're at 3% battery on the camera here, but that's okay. If it shuts off, our audio is still rolling, so we'll just have a dark ending to the episode. But I kind of did that same thing in COVID quarantine times. We did a couple of mock theater experiences at home.
Oh yeah, fun.
Where I set up, I printed out tickets for us and had seats set up like a movie theater just for fun.
For sure.
And one thing that I did was I cobbled together a trailer reel of movies that had come out either just before or the same year as a movie that we were watching. So we did Star Wars and we did What's Up, Doc, and I cobbled together a reel of trailers from 1977 or 76 for Star Wars, just to put you into the time of what movies would have been coming out just before Star Wars. And I think that was an effective way to show like what those movies did or what those movies were offering to people experiencing movies in that time.
And how it would have affected the cinema goers.
Right. So I think this has been a successful experiment so far, going from like black and white silent to black and white talkie to color talkie, back to black and white, slowly inching our way towards Citizen Kane, seeing the kinds of movies that were like big bombastic cinematic experiences with a lot of money behind them versus movies that maybe have like 3 sets and are mostly dialogue based.
Still great, still have their place. I mean, revolutionary in the terms of how they interpreted dialogue and cutting of that era, I would say.
So all I'm saying is Citizen Kane, based on the reputation that it has, better make me fly out of my chair.
That's what I'm saying, because Gone with the Wind was pretty epic. In 1940, His Girl Friday was pretty great. So I have high expectations for Citizen Kane.
And I try not to be too much of a hipster doofus when it comes to these kinds of things. I mean, I try not to be the kind of person.
We are, though.
I try not to be the kind of person who's like, well, I don't like this just because it's popular. Because I like to follow my heart. I just like what I like. You know, Bicycle Thieves was a very highly rated movie.
Yeah.
And I knew that going in. And I didn't think I was going to like it because of that reason. But I was floored by it and I loved it. So I'm
because you thought people were just saying that they liked it because they're supposed to like it.
I suppose. Yeah. So I'm completely ready for both sides of the coin. I'm ready to watch Citizen Kane and think that it's completely overrated and to hate it and think that it's overhyped.
We'll see.
And I'm also ready to watch Citizen Kane and be like, wow, that really deserves all the recognition that it's got and it's great. I mean, I hope it's great. I want
it to be great.
I love
as
movies.
Well. I think it'll be good. It's hard to say if we'll be like, this was amazing. But I think it'll still be good, probably.
Well, let's talk expectations.
Yeah.
So I kind of know what it's about. If you don't know, then I don't want to spoil it for you.
I know what it's about.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I watched, so in class, in school, we had to do like reports on a movie, and for our year they chose Casablanca, but in the past they made everyone do Citizen Kane. So I had watched some of the reports of my friends that were a year ahead of us in the program where they talked about the different aspects of Citizen Kane. So I have a general idea of certain beats of the movie, at least.
Okay. So my understanding is that it's about a guy who dies at the beginning. Oh, did you not know this?
No, I know that he dies. I just don't know if he dies at the beginning. I know he's dying, like maybe on his deathbed.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah, we don't know.
And then I think it's some sort of like reporter or something trying to figure out like what his role was in the local or maybe not so local community, like his big presence, I guess. And I know that there's a certain line that he says at the beginning.
Is it at the beginning?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
I know what the line means.
I know what it means too.
I know,
but let's wait to talk about that the next time.
I only know what it means because it was spoiled for me in an episode of The Real Ghostbusters.
That's funny.
That I think was parodying it.
Oh,
that I watched.
I see.
On one of those days when
Ectoplasma.
there's nothing else on, and you're just kind of rolling around the basement, clunking your head against the wall, watching The Real Ghostbusters, getting Citizen Kane spoiled for you.
That's the way it is.
You know, it's the journey, not the reward. So I'm ready to be surprised.
I mean, with a lot of these older movies, we know sort of the cultural trademarks of it. Like we know the famous line from Gone with the Wind. We hadn't seen the context.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be exciting to see all these contexts finally and be like, you know, all the oldsters being like, yeah, sure, this movie's great, but have you seen this movie from 50 years ago? And I can be like, yes, I did. And here's my opinion on it.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, comparing Gone with the Wind to His Girl Friday, Gone with the Wind was 4 hours and it felt like 4 hours.
Yeah.
His Girl Friday was like an hour and a half and it felt like it was maybe 45 minutes.
It like in a good way.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It was really fun. So like Gone with the Wind, really epic cinematography. and great in that aspect. His Girl Friday, it didn't need it. It was the world of the reporters, the chaos of being in the newsroom, completely different style. You know, it didn't really need to be color, and the dialogue was great. So it's just two different types from that medium back to back.
One thing that I thought they were going to do in His Girl Friday that they didn't end up doing, and that was okay, is I thought they were going to have the movie take place in real time, which would have been cool. I think if they had made a couple
within
tweaks,
a day.
they could have made it take place in real time, which would have kept the energy up even more.
Well, it's based on a play.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that was more or less in real time.
Yeah.
It was over the course of maybe like 6 hours. So you still felt like the race against the clock, whether or not it was in real time. And I did like that.
Right. So anyway, it felt short is what I was trying to get across.
In a very refreshing way.
Yeah. Citizen Kane, I just looked. The runtime of Citizen Kane is just under 2 hours.
Okay. Not so bad considering.
Yeah. Before watching Gone with the Wind, I would have been like, oh, this is a little long, just a little bit. But now I'm like, oh, it's like a cup of coffee.
Yeah. That's my favorite Jerry Seinfeld line.
Your favorite of all time? All of Seinfeld?
No,
That's your favorite line?
No. Okay, one of my favorites, sure.
Okay, what's your favorite? Number one favorite.
I don't know.
Look, we are not ending this podcast episode until you think about every line
That's
from
like
Seinfeld
choosing a favorite child.
Tell me your favorite Seinfeld line. Let's just say for now it's
I had a
it'll be like
dream
cup
that
of
a
coffee.
hamburger was eating me.
Okay, I think we're about wrapped up here. Anything left unsaid, Hannah, as we discuss His Girl Friday and our upcoming cinematic experience that is Citizen Kane.
So we talked about if one of our favorite creators liked it, then we might like it too. So Wes Anderson is deeply inspired by Orson Welles. So
Why?
There's reasons, I'm sure.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I don't think I've seen Orson Welles in anything yet.
Yeah. Well, this will be our first step into it. I don't know if there's one movie in particular that I want to say, like The Marvelous Amersons or something like that. One of Orson Welles' films was inspiration for the Royal Tenenbaums.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
If he's inspired by this director, maybe I will also be inspired. So we'll just have to see.
Okay. Well, I hope it works out for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Knows?
Looking forward to the next episode. I hope you all are out there. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you can rate a podcast on Spotify or Apple or whatever. I'm assuming you can.
I think you can.
Please rate it as you feel appropriate. I'm not asking for those 5 stars, but I really appreciate those 5 stars, as Mike Mozart would say in 2009 YouTube. And again, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
We will not see you in the next one, but you'll hear us in the next one.
Yeah.
All right.
Hear you then.